If you've noticed more hair in your brush and less on your head, tonight's snack might be playing a bigger role than you realize. Before you panic or blame genetics, stay with me and drop your age in the comments. I want to know exactly who I'm guiding. Hair changes as we get older, and while they can feel sudden, they're often linked to small daily habits that quietly accumulate over time. One habit most people overlook is eating certain foods right before bed, especially heavy, salty, aged cheeses. This isn't about fear-mongering or pointing fingers at one single food. It's about understanding how your body works during the night. Sleep is far from just rest. It's a time when your body goes into repair mode. Organizations like the NIH and Harvard Health explain that sleep regulates hormones, repairs tissues, and maintains metabolic balance. Hair follicles, tiny living structures on your scalp, rely on these processes to cycle through growth, rest, and shedding phases efficiently. When sleep is deep and uninterrupted, these cycles run smoothly. But when sleep is fragmented, stress hormones like cortisol can stay elevated longer than ideal, gradually impacting hair growth patterns. Certain aged cheeses are high in sodium and contain compounds like tyramine, which can act as mild stimulants. According to the Cleveland Clinic and NHS, high sodium meals late at night can affect fluid balance, blood pressure, and sleep quality for sensitive individuals. Even small disruptions like waking up thirsty or uncomfortable can reduce the amount of restorative sleep your body gets. And this matters because your scalp relies on growth, hormone release, and cellular repair that happen during the deepest stages of sleep. Repeated interruptions over time may make these processes less efficient, indirectly affecting hair follicle health. As we age, digestion slows, and sensitivity to rich or salty foods increases. What felt harmless at 40 may disturb sleep more noticeably at 65. While cheese itself doesn't directly cause hair loss, consistent late-night habits that fragment sleep or increase low-grade inflammation may create an internal environment where hair regrowth becomes less efficient. Hair follicles are sensitive to internal stress signals. They're like small factories that pause production if the body senses imbalance. Another layer involves blood sugar stability. Pairing aged cheese with refined carbs, like crackers or bread, can trigger subtle blood sugar spikes late at night. Harvard Health notes that blood sugar fluctuations influence sleep quality and nighttime awakenings. Over time, repeated cycles of disrupted sleep, mild stress, and inconsistent recovery can subtly influence shedding patterns, particularly in those already predisposed to thinning. The key isn't avoiding cheese entirely. It's about timing, portion control, and paying attention to how your body responds. Earlier dinners, balanced nutrition throughout the day, consistent sleep schedules, and stress management all work together to maintain an internal environment that supports healthy hair. Reputable health sources like NIH, Harvard Health, Cleveland Clinic, WH, and NHS emphasize that sleep quality, metabolic balance, and inflammation regulation are interconnected. Small nighttime habits can either strengthen or strain these systems. Over months and years, these small differences show up in ways you might not expect, especially in hair growth cycles. Your follicles operate on a tiny biological clock, moving through growth, transition, and resting phases, all dependent on steady internal conditions. Many seniors don't realize that deep restorative sleep plays a vital role in maintaining this internal environment. NIH and Harvard Health explain that during sleep, the body actively regulates hormones, repairs cells, modulates the immune system, and balances metabolism. Growth hormone peaks during deep sleep, directing energy toward tissue repair, including the tiny factories that are your hair follicles. When sleep is shallow or interrupted, this repair window shortens, meaning hair follicles may not get the support they need to stay in a healthy growth phase. Cortisol, the body's primary stress hormone, is another key player. Chronic sleep disruption can keep cortisol elevated for longer periods. Cortisol isn't inherently bad, it regulates energy and inflammation. But prolonged elevation signals the body to prioritize essential survival functions over secondary ones like hair production. Over time, repeated stress signaling can push more hairs into the resting phase, increasing visible shedding. Blood flow is equally important. Healthy circulation delivers oxygen, amino acids, iron, zinc, and other nutrients to hair follicles. Interrupted sleep, whether from discomfort, nighttime bathroom trips, or dietary triggers like salty meals can affect vascular patterns. Even mild changes in blood pressure or fluid balance, as noted by the Cleveland Clinic, can reduce time spent in deep, restorative sleep. NHS research emphasizes that sleep quality, not just duration, is crucial. Being in bed for 7 or 8 hours isn't enough if your sleep is fragmented. Aging naturally reduces deep sleep, making quality even more critical. Late-night habits such as consuming heavy, salty, or stimulating foods may subtly disturb sleep architecture. This disruption indirectly impacts hair maintenance systems. Inflammation is another factor. WHO and NIH studies show that low-grade inflammation increases with age, and poor sleep can exacerbate it. Hair follicles respond to these internal signals, and persistent inflammation can shorten growth phases or slow regrowth. Aged cheeses, such as hard-cured varieties, blue cheeses, and processed cheddar spreads, are particularly important to time correctly. High sodium and naturally occurring tyramine can subtly stimulate the nervous system, delaying the body's shift into parasympathetic, restorative sleep. Even minor nighttime awakenings can fragment slow-wave sleep, the stage most closely linked to tissue repair and hormone regulation. Hair follicles, with their rapid cellular turnover, are directly affected by these small changes in sleep quality. Digestive changes also matter. Aging slows gastric emptying and increases sensitivity to rich foods. Even light discomfort, like mild reflux or chest pressure, can disrupt sleep without fully waking you. Heavy, late-night cheese combined with refined carbs may create blood sugar fluctuations, causing brief awakenings or restless sleep. Harvard Health notes that seniors are particularly sensitive to these fluctuations due to shifts in insulin sensitivity. Over time, repeated interruptions in sleep and metabolic stability can create an internal environment less supportive of hair cycling. Inflammation, sleep disruption, and stress signaling all work together, subtly influencing how long follicles stay in the growth phase. The takeaway is not to fear cheese, but to understand timing, portions, and how your habits interact with your body's nightly repair systems. Understanding hair health after 60 isn't about chasing a single miracle food. It's about creating the right internal environment so your follicles can function normally. Hair follicles are metabolically active mini-structures that depend on steady nutrient delivery, balanced hormones, and restorative sleep. Institutions like the NIH and Harvard Health emphasize that consistent sleep patterns and metabolic stability are the foundation for tissue repair and hormone regulation. When evening routines support calmness, steady blood sugar, and minimal stimulation, the body can allocate resources toward maintenance, including hair growth. One practical adjustment is meal timing. Large or heavy meals right before bed can interfere with sleep, especially in older adults. The Cleveland Clinic and NHS highlight that slower digestion and increased sensitivity to sodium-rich foods make late-night eating riskier. By moving the main meal earlier in the evening, the digestive system completes much of its work before lying down. If dairy is included, choosing lower sodium, less processed varieties and eating them earlier may reduce nighttime awakenings. This isn't about eliminating foods you enjoy, it's about aligning intake with the body's natural circadian rhythms, which the NIH identifies as central to hormone regulation and cellular repair. Pairing protein with fiber earlier in the evening can also help stabilize blood sugar. Harvard Health notes that balanced meals with protein, healthy fats, and fiber reduce fluctuations that might otherwise trigger stress hormones like cortisol. Cortisol naturally declines in the evening to prepare the body for sleep. When meals are timed well, this decline is less likely to be interrupted, helping maintain a hormonal environment that supports normal hair cycling rather than prematurely shifting follicles into the resting phase. Hydration matters too. The NIH points out that adequate fluids earlier in the day support circulation and nutrient delivery to tissues. Moderating fluid intake right before bed reduces nighttime awakenings without compromising hydration. Improved sleep continuity enhances slow-wave sleep, which is when growth hormone peaks and tissue repair occurs. Since hair follicles rely on a steady supply of nutrients and oxygen, optimizing circulation and hormone patterns during sleep indirectly supports scalp health. Stress management is another essential component. Chronic stress, as highlighted by the WHO and NIH, can disrupt hormonal balance and trigger low-grade inflammation. Gentle sugar stability. Hydration and moderate daytime activity improve circulation, ensuring nutrients reach the scalp efficiently. Gentle evening stress reduction practices, stretching, breathing, and reduced screen exposure allow the parasympathetic nervous system to take over, lowering cortisol and creating conditions favorable for hair maintenance. The truth is, every follicle operates like a tiny biological clock, cycling through growth, rest, and shedding. Over years, repeated patterns of disrupted sleep, mild stress, and metabolic fluctuations may subtly shift more hairs into the resting phase, making shedding more noticeable. But the opposite is also true. Establishing steady routines, balanced nutrition, and consistent sleep gives follicles the best chance to maintain normal cycling, even as the body ages. Remember, this isn't about blame. Cheese, refined carbs, or occasional late snacks aren't villains. The goal is awareness, understanding how nighttime habits interact with sleep, hormones, circulation, and inflammation. Observing your own responses, adjusting meal timing, supporting sleep, and prioritizing overall lifestyle balance aligns perfectly with the recommendations of the NIH, Harvard Health, Cleveland Clinic, NHS, and WHO. So if you're over 60 and noticing more shedding, don't panic. Start with small, manageable adjustments, move evening meals earlier, opt for lower sodium cheese, stabilize blood sugar, protect deep sleep, and integrate gentle stress management routines. Over weeks and months, these consistent changes can create a supportive environment for your hair follicles, giving them the best opportunity to function naturally. If you found this information valuable, here's what to do next. Share your age in the comments so we can see who we're helping, and try adjusting just one evening habit this week, whether it's meal timing, portion size, or bedtime routine. Watch how your body responds. Hair health after 60 isn't about miracles, it's about patterns, consistency, and giving your follicles the steady support they need. Evening practices light stretching, controlled breathing, dimming lights, and reducing screen exposure help shift the nervous system into a parasympathetic rest and repair state. Heart rate slows, blood pressure stabilizes, and cortisol levels decline predictably. This physiological state supports regenerative processes throughout the body, including those affecting hair follicles. Movement during the day is also critical. Harvard Health explains that regular moderate physical activity improves circulation, insulin sensitivity, and sleep quality. Exercise performed earlier rather than later in the day aligns with circadian rhythms and deeper restorative sleep. The combination of proper meal timing, stress management, hydration, and daily movement creates an internal environment where hair follicles can function optimally. Common mistakes include panicking over shedding, cutting entire food groups, or over-relying on supplements. Reputable health organizations stress balance over extremes. Hair regrowth depends on cumulative lifestyle patterns, steady nutrition, consistent sleep, stress regulation, and circulation. Moving heavy or high-sodium foods away from bedtime, maintaining blood sugar stability, and protecting deep sleep create a favorable environment for normal hair cycling. Hair health after 60 is rarely dictated by a single habit. Shedding is often the result of cumulative influences rather than one isolated trigger. Institutions such as the NIH, Harvard Health, WHO, and NHS emphasize that sleep quality, metabolic stability, hormone balance, circulation, and lifestyle consistency all interact to influence hair growth. If aged salty cheese has become a regular late-night habit and your sleep feels lighter or fragmented, adjusting timing, not eliminating foods entirely, can be an effective first step. Observing changes over several weeks aligns with the way physiology actually works, rather than reacting to a single night or event. Sleep remains central to hair maintenance. NIH research shows that deep sleep stages drive growth hormone release, tissue repair, and immune modulation. Harvard Health highlights that consistent sleep schedules stabilize circadian rhythms, influencing cortisol and metabolic processes. Repeated interruptions from late meals, sodium-induced thirst, or mild digestive discomfort can reduce restorative sleep over time. These subtle reductions in recovery impact tissues with high turnover rates, like hair follicles. Protecting sleep with lighter evening meals, consistent bedtimes, and calming pre-bed routines aligns with NHS and Cleveland Clinic recommendations for older adults. Stress regulation is equally critical. Chronic stress elevates low-grade inflammation and disrupts hormonal balance. Persistently high cortisol shifts the body's priorities away from non-essential processes, including hair production. Creating a predictable evening rhythm, dim lighting, reduced screen exposure, and gentle relaxation helps the nervous system enter a parasympathetic state, supporting cardiovascular stability, digestion, completion, and hormonal balance, indirectly benefiting scalp health. Hydration and circulation also play important roles. NIH research shows that adequate daytime hydration and moderate physical activity support vascular function. Healthy circulation ensures that oxygen and nutrients reach peripheral tissues like the scalp. Exercise earlier in the day improves sleep quality and metabolic regulation, reducing nighttime blood sugar fluctuations that could trigger stress responses and restless sleep. Over time, these stable patterns create an internal environment that is less inflammatory and more supportive of hair cycling. Many people react to shedding with panic, cutting entire food categories, over-supplementing, or following extreme online trends. Reputable health organizations advise against drastic, unsupervised changes, particularly in older adults with underlying health considerations. This content is for educational purposes and isn't a substitute for personalized medical advice. Anyone experiencing sudden or severe hair loss should consult a healthcare professional to investigate possible causes such as thyroid imbalance, nutrient deficiencies, or medication effects. Ultimately, the most evidence-based approach supported by NIH, WHO, Harvard Health, NHS, and Cleveland Clinic focuses on steady lifestyle foundations, balanced meals timed earlier, mindful sodium intake, restorative sleep routines, stress management, and regular movement. These patterns regulate hormones, reduce inflammatory strain, and support circulation. While no single adjustment guarantees a specific result, creating conditions that favor physiological balance gives hair follicles the best chance to function within their natural growth cycles as we age. Supporting healthy hair regrowth in later years is less about finding a perfect food and more about establishing a stable internal environment. Hair follicles thrive when protein, micronutrients, circulation, hormone balance, and restorative sleep are consistent. Harvard Health and NIH agree that evening habits, meal timing, balanced nutrition, sleep routines directly influence metabolic stability and hormone regulation, which in turn affect follicle function. One of the biggest misconceptions about hair loss after 60 is that it's all about supplements or expensive treatments. In reality, hair health reflects the cumulative influence of lifestyle, nutrition, sleep, and stress management. Small, consistent adjustments make a far bigger difference than drastic overnight changes. For example, moving heavy or high-sodium foods away from late-night hours allows your body to complete digestion and enter deep, restorative sleep. Harvard Health and the Cleveland Clinic both note that aligning meals with your body's natural circadian rhythm supports metabolic stability, reduces blood sugar fluctuations, and allows cortisol to follow its natural evening decline. Hydration patterns also matter. Drinking adequate fluids throughout the day supports circulation and nutrient delivery to your scalp, but excessive fluids right before bed can trigger nighttime bathroom trips that fragment sleep. Protecting slow-wave sleep, the stage most critical for growth hormone release and tissue repair, helps follicles stay in a healthy growth phase. This is why even subtle adjustments in evening routines, like switching to lower sodium or less processed cheeses earlier in the evening, can have an outsized impact over time. Exercise is another key factor. Regular, moderate physical activity enhances circulation, improves insulin sensitivity, and contributes to better sleep quality. Harvard Health highlights that timing matters. Morning or early afternoon movement is ideal because evening exercise can sometimes interfere with the nervous system's wind-down process. When sleep quality improves, so does the body's ability to regulate hormones, repair tissues, and maintain a scalp environment conducive to healthy hair growth. Stress management is equally important. Chronic stress disrupts endocrine balance and can elevate low-grade inflammation, both of which influence hair cycling. Practices like light stretching, meditation, controlled breathing, and reduced screen time in the evening help activate the parasympathetic nervous system, the body's rest and repair mode. A consistent pre-bed routine can stabilize heart rate, blood pressure, and cortisol levels, creating an internal environment that indirectly benefits follicle function. Another factor often overlooked is blood sugar stability. Late-night snacks that combine high-sodium cheese with refined carbohydrates may trigger subtle glucose spikes, causing restless sleep and repeated awakenings. Over time, these small metabolic disturbances can subtly alter the hormonal and vascular conditions that support hair follicles. NIH research emphasizes that proper circulation and stable metabolic patterns are crucial for delivering oxygen, amino acids, iron, zinc, and other nutrients essential to scalp health. The bottom line is that hair health after 60 is about patterns, not perfection. Repeatedly interrupting sleep or creating subtle metabolic stress may increase shedding or reduce regrowth efficiency. But consistent attention to meal timing, portion control, sleep quality, stress management, hydration, and movement creates conditions where follicles are more likely to function normally. Institutions such as NIH, Harvard Health, NHS, and the Cleveland Clinic all stress these foundational lifestyle habits over any single food or supplement. By now, it should be clear, healthy hair in your later years isn't about eliminating cheese, obsessing over a single vitamin, or following extreme trends online. It's about creating a stable internal environment that supports your body's natural repair systems. Hair follicles thrive when sleep is deep and restorative, metabolic patterns are stable, hormones follow natural rhythms, and inflammation is minimized. Even small disruptions, like late-night heavy snacks or high-sodium meals, can ripple through these systems and subtly influence hair cycling. Meal timing, portion awareness, and mindful combinations become tools to protect sleep quality. Choosing lighter evening meals, enjoying richer foods earlier in the day, and pairing proteins with fiber help maintain